Oh fuck. So anyway, get you were saying.
So it benchmarks twice as fast. My CPU benchmark, my current CPU benchmark is like 11,000, and this thing is like 23,000. So that means I can render stuff like twice as fast.
Do you need that or something?
Well, it's like when I'm doing, like when I want to like render a video and I have to like sit around and wait like half an hour for it to finish.
When do you render a video? What's
Every
that?
single week we do the podcast.
What, maybe I don't understand what you mean render a video. You mean
So,
when you like convert it to something to upload it, or what are you talking about?
So yeah, when I convert it to, well, when I add in all the stuff at the beginning, like when I add in the theme song and I do all the post-production audio stuff, I have to re-render the video out.
It takes that long for you to do that? Because I do it, and when I mess with the audio or add stuff, it doesn't take that long for me to do it. Like, how long is a long time for you? Is it like 10 minutes or a minute or 100 minutes?
It takes like, for an hour show, it probably takes like 20 minutes.
Really? And what do you have in this thing? Is it an i7?
Yeah, it's an i7 4590.
And you've got a good graphics card.
Yeah.
How much memory you got?
Well, I think it's because I'm doing it through Premiere. I think Premiere is adding extra stuff
You're probably,
to the process.
Adobe does not skimp on the memory use.
And so like there's probably a way that I could do it in like half the time, and I just don't know. That's perfectly it's a possibility too that I might want to explore before I spend $1,000 on a new.
Well, now I mean, it would probably. I mean, if you're going to listen, you're going to use Premiere, and I'm not bad mouthing you for that. I mean, obviously you know what you're doing. I'm still doping around, but I mean, if you're going to use it. And how much is this system going to run you?
Well, I'm not going to buy any. I'm just basically going to buy motherboard, CPU, and RAM.
You go sell your old one?
So and then I'll sell the old stuff.
What you should do is put that in the MAME and sell the MAME stuff. What's in that?
There's a Pi in the MAME.
Oh, there's a Pi in the MAME. Well,
and the MAME works fine. The old system.
I forgot about the Pi.
Yeah, the old system is beyond worthless. Nobody wants a Core Duo. You know.
That's true. Greets, fellas. You know, after I think it was it who was it we were talking about last night with that? Was it Hasifa? Somebody were talking about CoinOps, the PC version of this. Just as a side note before we get started, I tinkered with it last night, and it is wrought with Brittany Pear's wackiness.
You hate that guy, don't you?
No, I mean he's a mad, arrogant genius.
So he's like Shane R. Monroe.
Well, yeah, I guess. I think about it. Shane's not that mad. This guy's really crazy. So there's 3 levels of this thing you can get. It's called Forgotten Worlds is the name of the coin.
Why didn't they just call it CoinOps?
Listen, don't ask.
Okay.
So you've got light, gold, and packed. I think is a big one. Okay, now they're up to everyone's up to 2.5 except for packed. It's not up there yet. But so I downloaded gold. I was like, let's have a look at this thing. Well, it looks just like Visionary on the Xbox. We ever saw that front end, which is his other graph. Like it looks like Hyperspin or something. Which I was not on the Xbox. It's kind of slow, and you know I have a mixed feeling.
I like the wheel. I'm with you on that.
You love the wheel gimmick.
Well, I used to, but I've come around to your way of thinking.
But he went a step further because the PC version loads faster. He's got it all pre-configured with the marquees, and but his front end on this is running off of another front end. So basically, he wrote a front end for a front end. All right, it's not as bad as it seems, but you know, normally it's like Pi. It's like, okay, I'm going to play Super Nintendo, Mario, or whatever. In Gold and Light, he doesn't do that. He just has all the games in one big wheel.
Terrible.
And so it's goofy. It's just. I thought about it, and I could see his point because in some ways, it makes some semblance of sense to somebody, but. We all have that. We all want that structure. At least I do. I don't want all the games in one.
Exactly.
Plus, that's usually an option. Like GameX has a thing where it just shows everything you've got. Show us what you've got. So I was like, okay, I'm getting out of this. Well, it can't be turned off. In Light and Gold, that's what you've got. You have no choice in the matter. You can't switch back to the other like CoinOps version where you don't have to look at. I like it better, which is the big list. So. Even though it's stupid, I'm downloading Pact or whatever, the big one.
Right.
Which is
this thing is like
it's
how
a
many
version.
gigs
It's a
is
half
it?
version behind. It's 40 gigs.
Oh, so it's not. I mean, it's not.
And then I downloaded the
huge.
Amiga installation for it, which I don't know why, because I got it. I don't know why I'm doing any of this, to be honest with you. But it was like a 1.6 gig Amiga data, which of course most of that's pictures and video.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give that a whirl just to look at it.
The only thing that I can see about having all the games on one wheel is this thing set up to where if you start typing on the keyboard, it'll search for that game?
I haven't tried.
Okay.
It is set up for. It's got it out of the gate, right out of the vault. You've got it set up for the Xbox 360 stick, which is good because that's what I use.
Right.
And the games I tried worked. And once you're in the game, you can change the buttons in the game. But he's got all that stuff. All of it hardwired in, and I don't know how adding games to this works because on the Xbox, you had to add them under the names that he picked, and if he didn't have a game that you wanted in there, you couldn't play it. And I think that's the way it is in this. So same thing. So, I mean, if you want something quick and dirty, I mean, coin ops is a funny thing. On the Xbox, you sort of put up with it because it's good and it's thorough. Once you have it all put together. I was talking to Graham about this because he was asking about coin ops. But when you're learning the eccentricities of it, you literally they all stretch back to one guy, and he wants it done in this weird way. For example, you have to rename all your Nintendo ROMs to exactly the same name that he's got. Otherwise, they won't work.
Hyperspin works that way too.
And it's annoying. So anyway, I'm going to give this a shot.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm bothering. I guess I'm just doing it because I can, and so I'm going to have a quick look at it.
Keep us updated on that. Maybe
Oh
we can do a
well,
future.
somebody may care somewhere. How are you guys doing today?
Got Colin 316, Jason. Hey,
Colin
Jason.
316 says.
Is that was that a Stone Cold thing?
Yeah, Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Don't you remember that?
No. Is that was that his tagline?
That's what made him.
Was that before or after he was doing the stuff with the beer?
This is before when he came to the WWF, he was called the Ringmaster, and he wore a Ringmaster outfit. He looked like an idiot. And then he was in King of the Ring, and he ditched all that. He was just like a bald guy in black pants who was a badass, but he wasn't pushed, and he won King of the Ring. He beat Jake the Snake Roberts in the finals.
That sounds like he's being pushed.
Well, this was his first big push, and they had at the end of it, they set the guys down to give him a crown. They set in the throne, and Jake had been this real religious guy. And before the fight, he talked about John 3:16. As I walked, whatever. I can't remember the whole verse.
For God so loved the world.
Yeah. And so Stone Cold got up there and he said, you talk about your Psalms, you talk about your John 3:16. Austin 3:16 says, I just whipped your ass. The crowd went nuts.
It was a pop, huh?
And saying ass back then was like,
Yeah. So
then,
this is like pre-Attitude Era?
And then all of a sudden, people started showing up at the events with Austin 3:16 shirts. Do you remember that shirt? Which sold $4 billion, and people didn't know what that meant.
You still see people walking around
That's
with those
what it was,
these days, especially in West Virginia.
That's what it was. Yeah. Yeah, see?
Colin knows what's up. You ready to start this thing?
Oh, man. Yeah, I think so. Did you? You got that? We're going to talk about that thing that I didn't add, right, on Indie Retro?
Yeah.
That Spectrum thing. I've got it on here.
Okay.
Make sure I've got the Amwitron ready to go here. You ready to do this thing?
Yeah.
How you feel today? You feel good?
I feel freaking
feel
awesome
froggy?
because I'm ready for my week off of work to start.
I've spent all week, this is the truth. In fact, even online, I spent all week, I did nothing but cut promos on people all week long. I've been pissed off all week about everything. Just set it in front of me. I'm going to scream and yell. I wore my partner out. About stuff. I don't know what's gotten into me this week. I'm just one of those moods.
I need to stop. I do like weird things with my hands during the show. That's my you identify your tics when you watch yourself on video. I'm like rubbing my head, doing weird things with my hands, like wringing my hands, and pick that up from you.
Don't
you're
blame
doing a better.
me.
You're doing a better job with controlling that than I am.
I never consciously made any sort of change.
Yeah, wacky hands is right. I'm all over the place.
God, I don't think I put our last show up in here. What was our last show? It was that cooking game, right? The chef show.
What are you talking about?
No, I'll go.
Oh, Pierre Le Chef.
Yeah, the last thing I posted in here was the Z Wolf 2.
Yeah, so you forgot about Pierre LaFontaine.
I need to get on that. Okay, CGA Doom. We talked about that. Star Force. Talked about that.
I'm doing the wacky hands again. I got to just keep them down.
What is this? Did you look at this Amigos sighting?
Mm-mm.
Oh, this is the yeah. We need to talk about that. That's got the what's his dude, the crazy artist,
Warhol.
Andy Warhol. That's what it is. We're gonna talk about that. Yeah. U.S. Gold, Voodoo Vengeance, Dreamcatcher. I'm just catching. Hey, I know, but I'm just trying to get it all in here. Yeah. Oops. Oops up. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. I got it.
Okay.
Okay. Hold on. Let me get one more thing ready. I know, but we gotta. Everything has to be precise.
Hey man, we are free and easy.
Yeah,
I'm on no set schedule because I live here.
Well, I know. That thing I told you we don't want to talk about, I've got to have it pulled up. Indie Retro News. It'd be awesome. It's just if you could work in front of a chat room, they could all talk all at once, like a crowd, so you could hear the people chatting like you would when you were like speaking at a live event.
Well, we see that sort of during the draft every year with Shouty. Isn't that sort of what?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Carson Wentz.
By the way, I think we're playing this week.
I know.
You're going down.
Well, I'm shocked that I'm doing as well as I am because my team is horrible this year.
My team's horrible, but I somehow went from last to first place in 1 week.
You're doing
awesome.
very well. All right, here we go.
Carson Wentz.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we are going to be talking about Micro Pro's Formula One Grand Prix. So, Aaron, before we get into it, though, I want to let you and all of our listeners know, because I'm telling you this for the first time, too.
Oh, God.
I'm leaving. No. We are going to be doing a best of 2018 video that will be released in conjunction with our normal New Year's Eve celebratory episode. And I'm on the lookout for what you believe are our best, funniest, wackiest Amigos moments from 2018.
Ooh.
So on the Discord, we've already had several great responses, but I'm looking to cast a wider net, if you will.
The wackiest moments?
Mm-hmm.
There have been no wacky moments. It's been straight, non-stop, straight man action.
Definitely.
You know.
So I think that if you're listening now at home and if one immediately springs to mind, or several, please send me an email.
Just shout it out in the chat room.
Shout it into your phone. Representative. Send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com, and I will compile those and release some sort of a video with all of those clips. It'll be like a clip show.
My wackiest moments were when your modem went down during the marathon. Now that was wacky.
Unfortunately,
because I just got to sit there and just eat pizza pie
while
and
everyone
just watch the world
rushed
burn
around you, with their hands akimbo.
I enjoyed that, and also another thing I enjoyed was at towards the end, the last couple of hours, where your mood soured a little bit.
Oh yeah. I got real tired of playing Amigo right around the time that it came from the desert.
You got real tired of being conscious.
Yeah.
So the marathon had several moments where I chuckled.
You know, speaking of Amigathon, I knew this would happen. There aren't going to be any more Amigathon releases, are there? It's ground to a halt.
What are you making? We have to film more intros. Don't look at me.
We should have just put it all up.
Don't look at me.
We should have just put it all up and been
folks,
done with it.
How many videos do you need to release in a week? Spectrum boy.
Hey, man.
You release these things that are going out of style. I've got one of these things. I've got a cut waiting to go. We need to film a little opening for it, and I'll be ready to go.
Right.
Because it's a retrospective. You can't just put these out. You got to think about it.
Do you?
Talk about it. Yeah. We have to address what happened that hour. Because so much happened in an hour, it needs to be addressed.
Okay. Well, I look forward
Plus,
to...
honestly, I think we were at hour 10 or 11 when we quit, and there's not too many more hours before we lose a bunch of hours.
That's true.
So it's not like there's 50 hours standing by. There's only a few more hours, and then the footage lost forever. That was also wacky. That's probably good wacky, except this. And also we lost that horrible pieing you took,
right?
Which was effectively 3 drops of liquid on your cheek.
I will say that the pieing was at a somewhat lesser awesomeness than last year.
Oh, yeah. You didn't get a pie lobotomy like I did. You just got a couple. I couldn't believe that. I knew I should have let you use your own pie at this thing.
That's rule number 1.
That was
Never let him
rib.
use his own pie.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's in the boxing rules.
I'll tell you, if we do another one of those marathons next year, I'm going to bring the pie, and it won't be a pleasant
I'm going to bring the pain.
Well, you bring that every time you show up for one of these things.
That's true.
You're chastising me just now. Don't bring the pain. It's not like I control all those videos. Are you kidding me? Clearly, they know I know nothing.
All right, Aaron. I hear that train a-coming. It's rolling around the bend. And I ain't seen the Amiga news since this time last week. It's the gamble train, Aaron.
So this is what we're going forward with, the gamble train.
The gamble train.
So you took something I had that made no sense and made it even less sensical.
Oh, yeah.
Let me unleash the beast here. So, I didn't see a super amount of Amiga news, but there's a couple of items we're going to touch on here. So, our good pal, Andy Davis.
Yes.
Linked up a video here with the late, weird Andy Warhol Amiga sighting video. Have you looked at this weird video from this strange man?
I have not seen this. I'm already slightly afraid.
Yeah. Andy's I mean, obviously he was one of the guys that helped launch the Amiga with just by his presence. And presumably he used the Amiga for some stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, and no, I'm not sure exactly what a piece of art that was. Just now that flashed up, but weird man, weird, strange, goofy sort of guy. A very renowned artist, but then again, you know, art's one of those things that really is in the eye of the person admiring the art. So you either like it or you don't. And I don't hate his stuff. It just. What do you think about Warhol's? Well, I don't know how much you've looked at it, but I mean, I've seen a lot of it.
I think that it's, you know, he invented the sort of like ordinary object as art thing with the Campbell soup and all that stuff.
Oh yes,
and and you know, I can appreciate his sort of weirdness, and I think that it's sort of a pity that these days we don't have. It's part of the loss of our collective consciousness as a nation that we don't have people like him that everybody can just refer to. Like if I asked you, who's a contemporary weird artist that everybody knows about now?
Andy Warhol.
He's been dead forever.
He's still contemporary. He lived in my lifetime.
We don't have the same sort of people anymore.
I can't name very many artists, to be honest with you.
That shocks me.
Art is not. Oh, what are you? Now wait a minute. What are you, some kind of super art critic? Let's hear some of your favorite artists.
I won't go into it. I don't.
That's what I thought. Yeah. That's exactly what I thought.
So anyway, the reason why that video was posted was because Andy Warhol was present at the unveiling of the Amiga, and he was a very early proponent of its artistic capabilities.
Whether he used it or not, though, is the question. I don't know.
Still uncertain.
Yeah. So, moving on down the line, I don't think we talked. Yeah, we didn't talk about this last week. The Dreamcatcher has has a thing up here on. Did you read this thing on the Voodoo?
The Voodoo Vengeance.
Now, had you ever heard of this title?
No.
I know you pretty well. What did you, when you just looked at these pictures? Have you read the article or just looked at the pictures, the pretty pictures?
I only look at the pictures.
I knew it. So look at the pictures here. What's your first instinct tell you about this game?
I would think that this would be like Flight of the Amazon Queen.
So, but I mean, we're just without playing it, knowing anything about it. Are you positive or negative to it?
Oh, I'm positive.
I know you would be.
I love that. I love that
same way.
Tiki stuff.
Yeah, it's cool looking. Yeah. It's colorful.
Mm-hmm. Joe versus the Volcanoes.
Another classic DK. Again, I've never heard of this one. How do we not know about this stuff? How long have we been doing this?
Hey, man, there's a lot of Amiga games out there.
If it wasn't for our buddies, we'd be boned. A million times.
I say that every day.
You'd be boned a million times. We're going to skip some of the homemade stuff we did. Now, this is something here. We know a guy. We know a man, a certain man. His name is Duncan Styles. And the D-Man, as I have dubbed him.
He is the D-Man.
Did a review on Everything Amiga for us this week. And it's on a game called Whoops Up. Have you ever heard of Whoops Up?
Never.
I haven't either. It's a, well, how to describe Whoops Up. I read this, and I looked at the pictures, and I'm still not 100% sure what the hell this is. It's a shooting, kind of it's weird looking.
It looks kind of like Pang. I'm pretty sure it's Pang.
You think it's Pang?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I know that you were a latecomer to Pang. You didn't play Pang until about 3 months ago.
Yeah, Pang is not something. You know what turned me off about Pang? It's the name.
It's not great.
It sounds dirty to me.
It does.
I don't know, or like some sort of food. It's funny how that works.
It could go either way, really.
I'll have 2 pangs and a pawn.
Yeah, and that you've just broken the law in several states.
That's all it takes, is it? You call for 2 pangs, you're under arrest, sir. Soliciting pang in our state's against the law. That's my luck. Arrested for pang. So
what a way to go, man.
Let's talk about this, what just popped up, what indie retro news just popped up as timely as today's headlines. Help me. You've ever heard of this game? You All Quest for Money. The Motion Twin ZX Spectrum homebrew gets an Amiga release. So we're getting stuff ported over from the ZX Spectrum.
It's
pretty
great.
good.
It's great.
I think that's great. Now, I've never heard of this. I've never seen it. It looks pretty good.
I can tell you that I'm going to be playing it soon, though.
This looks like it's right up your alley.
Oh, yeah.
Poster.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Just looking from the screenshots, it looks like it's got that sort of bubble bobble / single screen puzzle platformer type deal.
I know you love that stuff, Boat. I know you love it. So let's talk about some stuff that the Boat's been up to this week. He's a bit of busy Boat. Let's go over a couple of these versus videos. Now, I think I watched the one you haven't released yet, actually. But you've got one here that's you've compared Out to Lunch, which was last week's game, to the Super Nintendo. Now, I made a controversial point last week, and the point was that I thought the Amiga, this is not playing them, by the way, just looking at them, but I thought I preferred the Super Nintendo version, the look of it. And I read a lot of the people that had mentioned things on Discord and under the video, and who chastised me and thought that this actually looked way better on the Amiga. Now, you can see right there, there's already a difference. The Super Nintendo version has a cool cutscene where all the food escapes, which I think is cool. You played both these Boats, so you're the man to ask. How did they compare?
Oh, the Amiga version is hands down the better looking.
Oh,
game.
You really?
Aside from that one cutscene, because the Amiga version doesn't have the cutscene. But if you look at I've done a little bit on every level, thanks to some level codes. And the colors on the 1200 or on the Amiga version are so much richer. I think this is it has to be a 1200 because it's an AGA game.
It is an AGA game.
The colors are so much richer. The music sounds better. I mean, at its core, they're exactly the same game. But this is. I was surprised to find that I did prefer the 1200 because you'd think that the Super Nintendo would have the clear advantage in this type of a game. This is an up for jump excursion on the 1200, but even with that, I still think that it looks and plays just a little bit better on the Amiga.
Holy smoke! So wait a minute. Aren't you the Super Nintendo glory boy?
I am the Super Nintendo glory boy.
Don't you love the Super Nintendo and hate everything else?
That's what the back of this shirt says. It says
Boat
I hate everything.
has determined that this is better on the Amiga. Well, that's enough for me. That's enough for me, Boat. And it does. I mean, I looked at them both. I don't know. I thought the Super Nintendo looked a little bit better, but clearly I was. There's room there for conversation. Now. You've got at least 1 or 2 more of these coming up, don't you? You want to preview some people?
Yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's not on the Google Plus that if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, you should, because I'm doing these port comparisons. I'm going to release one a week. They're a lot of fun to put together because
you did a great job too. I couldn't believe how good it looked. Man.
I think they're fun. It's a neat way to see how the Amiga stacks up to its contemporaries. And
you got real snarky on the latest one.
Oh yeah. Well, the last one, this latest one is a real dog on the Amiga, and so it was an easy pop. But yeah, if you want to tune in, it's going to drop on Tuesday. You're going to see the Amiga version of Outrun versus the Mega Drive version. And,
if you're ever going to be snarky on a video, that's your boy.
Absolutely,
right there.
Absolutely.
And and part of the snark, not to give it away all of it, but. At the beginning, where the Amiga version takes forever to load, and of course the Genesis version pops right up. You're good to go. And you look at the Amiga screen, like a loading screen, with this sweet anticipation. It looks so great. It's just like the arcade.
Yeah.
And then the game loads. It's one of the all-time gut punches.
Yeah. It's very rare that the artists have created an entire title screen that is totally divorced from the actual gameplay.
Well, they needed something to put on the back of the box.
Yeah.
I would bet $1 million that was what they put on the box.
Absolutely.
It would be $1 million.
Absolutely.
Along with your versus videos, of course, this is the month of Thanksgiving. We've been playing some games that were sent to us over the years that we just never got around to playing. In fact, I'm getting ready to put up, I've got a couple from our good buddy Ravi that I'm getting ready to do, a CD32 title, and also I'm going to take a turn at Cincy Golf, which you got to play, but I haven't got to play it yet.
Yeah,
So
I want to check that out.
I'm going to give that one a whirl. So those things should be bounced up the next week. You want to go over any of the specky stuff?
So yeah, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage sent us a whole shoebox full of tapes.
Oh yeah.
And so I took a day and did a real long stream of all of these different Spectrum titles. There's a shooter called Star Farce, one of the worst titles of all time.
Last week, yeah.
I put out there's a edutainment title called Survival, where you pick whether you want to be a rat or a hawk. And
I know which I'd pick.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a hard choice.
No.
Hey, spoiler alert, it's easier to be the hawk than the rat. And then this coming up, in fact, maybe even coming up today or tomorrow, the computer cookbook. The computer cookbook, which was way more fun than I thought it would be, mostly due to the antics of the chat.
It's hard to prepare a computer for consumption.
It is.
No
it
easy
is.
task.
This program shows you how.
You've had a lot of fun with these ZX Spectrum titles, haven't you?
The Spectrum has been... It's like finding a treasure that you never even knew you wanted.
Oh, look at you.
The Spectrum is fan-freaking-tastic.
I think that's dandy. You know, let's talk. Here's something wacky. We've noticed in the past couple weeks that, you know, normally if you're here to watch the Amigos record our show, we record live in front of a studio audience via the internet, and then afterwards we'll usually have a cold one. And then we'll just talk about some crap for about 20 minutes, right? And we've been doing this for, I mean, we always did it, but we just changed it, I don't know, about 8 months or whatever
like
on that. And so, but recently, for whatever reason, that show's been blowing up, brother. And so it's called Insert Disc 2, in case you didn't know.
And if you're subscribed to this podcast, you do know, because it comes free with the feed.
But if you don't subscribe, just a little feed. And we've actually had a couple, I think we did a couple interesting topics, and the one we did last week I thought was very, in fact, it made me think about stuff I'd honestly never thought about before. And the topic was, in 20 years, will we be able to play the games we love? And I'd even add to that, in 20 years, will people even want to play the games that they play today? Who knows? Right? That's something we covered. So if you want to hear me and Bo, I don't know what you would call that.
Opine.
Just speculate. You know, futurists like Michio Kaku, except about games. Tune in. And this, we've got, and we'll be, of course, doing one today. So we do them every week.
Who was the guy that used to bend spoons on Carson?
Oh, boy. You put me on the spot because I know exactly who you're talking about.
That's me. That's the role that I play.
Oh, man. What am I, Carson?
No, you're the other guy, Michio Kaku.
I'm ignoring that. Listen, if you're one of those crazy people... Oh, I've got to admit something, Bo.
Admit away.
I've been doing this show now for... How many episodes are we on? 175 episodes?
Something like that.
Plus, God knows how many other things we've done. And it finally happened. And I'm sorry to admit it, but I made a mistake this week. I'm sorry. There goes my perfect record. I accidentally released our other show, ARG Presents, on the wrong day. And as a cunning ploy, when I saw that I had done it, because Boat was like, did you mean to release that? I was like, no! And so I hit it. And I was like, this will take care of that. And when I unhit it, like, it was a botch. Botched Because
what happened was, when you published it, everybody that subscribed to us got pinged.
I know what happened. I understand.
Okay.
So, if you were wondering what the hell was going on, that was Dummy's fault. So if you're an ARG, the last episode I thought we had a lot of fun. We did PC DOS games of the early 90s. And we looked at One Must Fall 2097, which is a fighting game that I really enjoyed on the PC. And my brother and let me tell you, he loves this game, Big Red Racing. I'm sure you've heard him talk about it.
I listened to the episode.
Oh, did you? And so if you want to hear Brent, just gets mushy over this thing. When I gave him my opinion, I thought he was going to cry right there in front of me. So if you missed out or wonder what happened, ARG is up and ready for your viewing or listening pleasure. Now, sorry about that. My bad. That's what you get for doing this stuff at 1 in the morning. You just a little botch here. And this week, we were going to be doing coin-op games of the early 90s. So same era, different format.
I hope
genre.
this week you finally start to use the schedule function on YouTube.
Never. I will never use it. And I'll tell you why later. So, I think, have we covered, is there anything else we've got coming up or did this week that we need to talk about, Bud? I think that pretty much is everything I've got. You got anything?
That wraps it up, man.
That's a lot of stuff there.
It was
and
a
I
lot of
told you, I
stuff.
was like, we don't have much news, but there's a lot going on. So, and tune in for more Thanksgiving shows. And as the holiday rolls around, we get more time. We're going to really crank out some stuff,
Yeah.
why don't we both?
Yeah.
So it'll be fun.
All right, Aaron, it's time to talk about this week's game. Grand Prix. Formula One Grand Prix. Sorry.
Thank you, Foster Brooks.
Yeah.
Formula One Grand Prix.
It was Foster Brooks.
You don't know who Foster Brooks is? He's perpetually drunk comedian.
Is he Father Jack?
No.
Oh, I thought that might have been the guy that played him.
I do like Jack. What are we doing? Oh, yeah, game. So this week we're talking about Formula One Grand Prix. This was released. Now, I told Bo, because Bo kind of nonchalantly last week said, we're going to do this. I know this is a big deal to a lot of people. It's a big game. This game came out in 91. Now, there's some interest in terms of the number of discs. Now, they've got this listed everywhere I go as a 4-disc game. However, I have seen 3-disc versions of this floating around the gray area sites, and I'm going to guess that it was a ripped copy that maybe they compressed the 3-disc. I'm not sure. To be honest, I didn't try any of the 3-disc. I played the 4-disc, but there could be a 3-disc version. Don't know. And so this was put out by Microprose. So the brain, the genius behind this was our old buddy, Jeff Crammon. Now, do you remember Jeff? You should. He was behind one of my all-time favorite games we did on the Amiga.
Hybris?
Stunt Car Racer.
Oh.
Stunt Car
okay.
Racer.
That makes sense.
Which is a brilliant game.
Mm-hmm.
And so he took his brilliance and his mind for this sort of thing and smushed it into this game. So this, of course, ran on the ECS, OCS hardware, and had a couple conversions. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even look at them. The Atari ST and the PC DOS. Of course, the Amiga was the flagship computer for those. So I can tell you, I will preface this by saying I am not a fan of Formula car racing.
Are you a fan of any racing?
I like demolition derbies.
Not a race.
Well, listen, what are you hanging me out to dry here? Are you a fan of car racing?
But at least I'm man enough to say it.
That makes you a man? I'm trying to think of the thing. I mean, I like drag racing. How about that?
Okay.
Remember Dragster?
Yeah.
That was fun. And I'd like playing these games more than I like watching the show.
Me too.
This is a lot like, there's a lot of stuff like that.
Golf comes to mind.
Yeah, golf. Although, sadly, occasionally I will sit around and watch
watching golf.
Yeah. So really, you blew that, didn't you? So my knowledge of this particular sport is skin deep. I'm not going to sit here and wax on how what I know about it. So one thing that confused me right out of the gate is that Formula One Grand Prix isn't known as Formula One Grand Prix in the USA.
What is it known as?
It is known as World Circuit. All right, World Circuit. Yeah. Hey, I'm just saying. Of course, Microprose is known for, they do a lot of simulation type of stuff. They're a good outfit. This wasn't just put out by some yahoos. So, in a nutshell, Formula One is a game that puts you in control of a Formula One racer, and you put you on real life existing Formula One racetracks with a slew of options, and let you go to work. There are 16 tracks, which is ridiculous. That's a ridiculous amount of tracks. The game that people when this game came out, probably the big main game for racing fans was a game called Indianapolis 500, which I'd played that. In fact, I played that one more than this one, and not because it's better, but because that's what I had. And that game was good. It was a realistic racing simulator, but it was nowhere. It was not in the same stratosphere as this one. Plus, it had one track. It had 16 tracks. Now, when you say 16 tracks, it's not like you're playing, say, Daytona from Sega, where there's a carnival going on in the background.
Right.
Most of these tracks, the layout's obviously realistic, but I mean, it's not like there's going to be an epic difference in the background graphics or whatever. But I mean, it's irrelevant for the actual driving. But I thought I'd mention that. So you get control of this race car. It gives you several options. This thing's got tons and tons of options, Boats. It's got basically you can just hop in a car and race. Or you can set up a circuit. You can play over a whole season, and you can. What I thought was neat. You can go in and rename everything. So I named my racing team the Amigos team, and I had me and you as the racers, and it was kind of fun to do that stuff. You can edit stuff on your car. You know, you can do stuff like mess around with the wings. You know, on it, you can
control the drag,
the
and all
gear
that stuff.
Ratios, and keep in mind that you can tell I'm leaving my realm here. You can pick the tires on this thing. You can change. They wear out. You have to change them. You have to go to the pit and change them. It's got a pit, you know, which it's hard to believe this was only a few years after a game like Pit Stop 2.
Oh yeah,
where it's so archaic compared to this. It's unbelievable. Now you know if Jeff Crammon's involved in this. You're not going to get some kind of thrown together crapiola. This is some physicked up, realistic stuff. But does the game look spectacular? At the time, it actually looks pretty darn good. I mean, it's a game of its time period. Wouldn't you agree? But I mean, the presentation is pretty good.
I think that this is. I mean, in terms of the way that racing games looked for a long, long time, I think that this was probably one of the first truly modern-looking games I've ever seen in terms of the speed combined with the way that the graphics are drawn with, with polygons. I know that like race driving and hard driving, they were like this, but they didn't have the sense of speed that this game has.
Yeah. Oh no, not even close. Yeah. And you're right; those are good comparable titles. If you think about hard driving on the Amiga, and then you put this beside it, it makes hard driving look like not so good.
Right.
I mean, and now I also should say that I played this on two different machines. I played this on the 1200, and I also played. I emulated to see because I could change the processor speeds. It makes a difference.
Well, I only played this via emulation, and I can see how having a slower Amiga might you might take a performance hit.
Do you remember what processor you used?
Yeah, this was with the 1200.
Okay, yeah. So you played like I did. So I cranked it up to a couple. I played it through a couple different things, and as you go up the scale, you get more realistic sense of speed, and that, obviously it's going to render stuff better. I mean, this game. It's actually quite remarkable for the amount of 3D objects that appear on the screen. I mean, and it's not loopy either.
No.
I mean, again, Crammon is a genius. I mean, he's a programming or math genius. There's
probably both.
Because I mean, how many games look like this? And I mean, in 3D on the Amiga, and we've established that the Amiga you can do 3D, but usually it's clunky. So the thing about this that really put it over the top for me. Again, this is normally not the kind of game I'll play, but I'm going to tell you exactly. I didn't look anything up on eBay. I didn't look anything up on YouTube. I didn't do anything because I'd played this game way back. So I sat down and I grabbed my controller. I fired this thing up and just did a practice race. And I just took off. I'm driving around, and I noticed I'm like, I feel pretty good here. I'm doing pretty good because I mean, if you've played a game like Forza or something. You get this stick and you don't know what you're doing, and you just go out there and just do donuts or hit the,
Yeah.
So I'm cruising along. I'm like, man, I am a natural at this. I felt like $1 million, So I finished the lap. I thought, man, that's a respectable time. It wasn't perfect, and so I was like, I felt really good about myself. I mean, I really thought I was a real wizard. Right. Well, I played this on Rookie. Okay, and so what I didn't know was, and I learned, that this game ingeniously has driver aids built into it. So, I mean, and this right here, and this may be mandatory now on a racing, but again, I don't play them. If it's not, I mean, I've never heard of this before this game, and it is absolute brilliant. And it's so seamless, I didn't even know it was happening. It shows you how good it was. So, when you play it, there are different skill levels to play this game. You've got Rookie, amateur, semi-pro, pro, and ace. Okay, now the difficulty level determines how many of the player aids are default turned on, and you can turn them off, all right, whenever you want, and they're just function keys. Do it F1 through F6, and Rookie has them all on. So these are what they do, all right, just to run down, because this is pretty important. So you've got auto braking, auto gears, which that helps because I can't drive a stick in real life. Self-correcting spin, all right, ideal line, and suggested gear. All these things work in harmony to make someone that sucks feel great.
Yeah.
Because so once I learned about these, and I've got to say, Pixels at Dawn sent me the full manual for this, which helped out. I read through it. I mean, I read through some of it. It was a massive tome. But I looked all this stuff up, and I was like, oh, it's okay. You know, because without that, I would have never even, and of course, this would have been another looking like an idiot incident because I wouldn't have any idea what I was doing. So I thought, well, heck, let's turn these off and just try the practice track. It's exactly what you think would happen. I took that car, I spun out, I hit the wall, I wobbled around like an idiot.
Yeah.
It sucked. I sucked at it. It was no fun for me because I was not good enough to play this game. And then slowly I started turning these things back on. You can feel what they do. It made a lot more fun for me. I mean, it was like one of the reasons I don't like these games is because I suck at them. You know, and it's fun to actually not suck and have a chance to at least do okay. Did you have the similar experience?
So I did not know that the driver assist existed. I just thought I was awesome at this game.
Oh.
And it turns out I'm not really even that awesome. There were several times, again, this is another one of these games where there wasn't gameplay footage of sufficient length or quality to embed in our show here. So I had to record the footage myself. And I definitely spun out quite a few times trying to take turns too quickly.
Yeah. The turns in this game, let's talk about the graphics and your ability to race. I thought the graphics were very good. One thing that happens is when you come upon a turn, you'll see a road sign that tells you which way you're turning, and it gives you a rough idea of the type of turn. It could be a U-turn or a tight turn, left or right, or a loose turn or curve. And that's super important because one thing I noticed was I had a heck of a time seeing the turn coming. Did you experience that?
Yeah, and I think it has to do with the draw distance of the platform. I don't know how you could make it easier. And plus, I mean, that's part of the challenge at F1 is that you're going 200 miles an hour and you've got this turn coming up.
And again, I'm not faulting the game for it. And the funny thing is, when the first time I played this game and I had all that stuff on, I thought I knew I was having trouble. Having trouble seeing the curves, but I was making them pretty well. And I thought, man, it's the controls are really intuitive that I'm good enough to where even if I'm not seeing these coming, I can do okay. Well, that was the helper that was keeping me in line. And it's fun to fiddle with what that stuff does because eventually I could turn off a couple things and feel like I was at least doing something. And I will say you can't just hit the gas and just hold the joystick dead forward and just assume it's not going to steer for you.
No.
You will not do well. So it's not like an auto drive, but it does keep you in line. But the curves, I did find the curving situation, it was just tough to see. And when I played on a faster processor, they were still kind of hard to see, and then also I was going fast. So the faster processor I used, the more trouble I had, doing that. Go ahead.
So I just want to make sure I understood right. There comes a point where it kind of flips on you, and you to use a processor that's too fast speeds the game up too much to make it.
Well,
more
no. This is a fault with me.
Oh, okay.
Not the game itself. I
didn't know if it was like those early.
When you use a faster processor, it makes the game lots more fun, and it feels faster.
Okay, but at no point it's not like those early DOS games where it's relying on the internal clock and doing everything with that.
Right.
Okay.
Now, this game does have a flaw or a programming deficiency that can happen that will cause. I read what it did. I'm not 100% sure because the explanation was a little bit wonky. But basically, the game has a flaw that it's something the frame rate's tied to something with the frame rate and the speed tied together. I'm not sure what it means. I think it's just, of course, at the time probably it was not something that would have came up, and I think it only applies when you're in certain situations. So I mean, if you know something about this game, there's the thing about this game that makes it difficult to look over in a week is that aside from the fact that you've got the original game that shipped and it had 16 tracks, this game is a lot like Sensible Soccer or something, where over the years a community built up around it that's still thriving today. In fact, a new website just went up in like April, and amongst the things that they do are put new. I guess they update the engine, the drivers. I think they have some kind of track editor. This game had a lot of crazy, just out of the box. It did a bunch of stuff. Like I saw this and I couldn't even believe this was real. I mean, it's got like hot seat multiplayer among other things. But one thing it's got is, and get this, but I read this. I had to read it 3 times. Play by mail mode. Now get this. I'm going to read this verbatim because it's so goofy. So, in F1 Grand Prix, players would choose one of the drivers for the particular race, and when their turn was up, they would save the game on a floppy drive. The drive could be sent via second-class mail to other participants in the event to continue with their turn. This would be saved on the disc and mailed out to the next participant. And so you could do full season championship like
that.
That
is unbelievable.
Now let me tell you something. That's the best thing I've ever heard.
That is awesome.
Because you're combining something
so cool.
incredibly old with something else.
Yeah.
When I read that, it made me so happy.
Now let's go back to talk about the hot seat multiplayer, because I don't think you realize just how cool this is.
Go ahead.
So
because I didn't try it.
When you're playing this game and you have a team of people, say you're playing with 3 buddies, okay? You're all gathered around the computer. You'll be playing, and in the middle of your race, the screen will fade out. It will fade back in as another driver. You can't control. It gives you like 5 seconds to pass the controller to the other guy. So you're all playing together. You're all driving for the same team, and you all get a chance to participate in the success of the race.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah,
too.
it's so cool.
You know, it's really again, Crammon is a guy who was ahead of the curve on this stuff, and so much ahead of the curve. Of course, this game did gangbuster business, as you can imagine. I mean, it's super popular today. And so, of course, they had sequels that came out. And I know there were at least 3 sequels. I think the last one I looked into was out in 2002. And, of course, they improved the graphics and whatnot. Now, these weren't on the Amiga. But they looked pretty good. But, I mean, I'm guessing that the community around this one still being around means something. And it's funny how little they look sort of similar. I mean, they look obviously updated, but they look sort of similar to it, to what it was back in those days. Again, they've got a community available now. I guess they're still doing races and stuff on it, which is quite impressive, if you think about it. But this game had so much depth and stuff in it. I mean, we haven't even gotten to the fact that you pit. There's a pit thing. It's really cool. The guy has the sign that comes out that says brake and then all it does is stuff. And you've got all the different types of tires, none of which I know anything about.
Yeah, if you are a fan of F1, I can imagine this being like your favorite game of all time forever.
I mean, fooling around with gear ratios and stuff, I had no idea.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? My car would explode, the second I touched it if I did that. But so, I mean, there's a lot of elements that were just above me. I mean, admittedly. So, in the Amiga pantheon here of racers, where would you put this? I mean, how does this compare to like Vroom or even stuff like Lotus? I mean, do you put that in the same ballpark? Is it?
Boy, it's hard to compare this game to either Vroom or Lotus, because this is an in the cockpit experience. This really stands on its own, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the racing games that I've played on the Amiga, in terms of the realism, the graphics, the speed, and all of the options. There's nothing that I've played that can touch this.
It's real good. I mean, it's quite good. Now, I have not played much F1 stuff.
Yeah, maybe there's later games that are better than this.
Yeah,
but,
so when we get to the point where we try out one of the other ones, there may be something to compare it with. But I mean, I will say, like I said, I played a lot of the Indianapolis 500. I think it was Papyrus that did that. Remember them? And I think that's who did it. And this, it was real sloppy slow. I mean, it was a simulator, but this runs at now. Admittedly, I did not trust like a 500. But in fact, that should be an Amigos play, just like Wing Commander. Let's see how this fares up.
Yeah.
But On the 1200, it was more than playable, and as you go up the scale, it got better. So again, it's a lot like stunt car racers the same way. It's okay, it's playable early on, and in the faster processor you get, the more fun it is. But I like the heads-up display. You've also got something else this game did that was very unusual as far as I'm concerned. It had rear mirrors.
Yeah, the rear mirrors are cool, and like you said, there's no like craziness going on in the background in terms of like what you'd see in a game like Daytona. But the backgrounds are different. The city tracks you can see the city in the background. Yeah. I mean, that's again, it's just little details like that really add to the experience.
Something else you can think about when you play a game like this is, of course, this is where the player aid stuff comes in. You're using not an analog stick. I mean, basically, and so for someone like me, I just don't have the aptitude to play this without the help. Mm-hmm. I think if I took anything away from this game, I think that should be at every racing game should have that help sequence. I'm sure the new ones have it. Surely they do.
Yeah, I mean, Forza definitely has driver assist built in.
You've got to, because that made this game so much more fun. One of the things about Indy, Indianapolis 500, which again is the game I compare this to because I played it the most. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would get so frustrated that I would just give up and just go backwards and try to blow stuff up after so many laps because I was so far behind. I didn't feel like I never won a race. Okay, or even really came close, but I was still with the pack for most of the race. Mm-hmm. Not bad,
right.
And often my tires would blow, or sometimes I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I thought that was a lot of fun. But like I said, it's easy to read the gauges and stuff in the front. Yeah, it's all written out. It's actually, I don't know if this is the way an actual car is inside, but I mean it should be. It tells you what's going on. It tells you which car you're in, which that explains that for the multiplayer. Because I was wondering about that. It uses real drivers, at least the one I had. I mean, I recognize a couple, like Nigel Mansell. I recognize him. There were a few others that I think I'd heard of. Mm-hmm. Again, we don't follow this. I will say that I don't want to speak for everyone in the States because F1 at one time in the States had a pretty good following, and I'm sure that a lot of people are still into it. We're just not, I mean, so it's not like, I mean, and I know it's not as big as say like NASCAR, mm-hmm. but NASCAR's, it was on the wane. But I mean, F1, and I remember when as a kid, it was a pretty big deal. And I think it's a bigger deal everywhere else on earth but here.
Sure, it's huge everywhere else.
But it's not like soccer where very few Americans care. I mean, more Americans care. I guess soccer's on the rise too, so there you go. I looked this thing up. I will say this, you can judge a game by how many reviews you find. I mean, in all honesty. And this one has... Every magazine on Earth reviewed this 7 times.
Wow.
So Lemon, this is one of the highest scores we've ever had on Lemon. They gave this an 8.67. They were very impressed.
Have we ever had it? It seems like we haven't done a 9 game.
I think we had a 1-9.
I'm sure Monkey Island was probably.
It might have been, but I mean, I don't know if we were. I wasn't scoring Lemon back then. So Ace gave this a. What they get? I don't know. Their scoring.
They're out of 1,000.
Yeah, 930. Mm-hmm. How weird.
It is weird.
Amiga Action gave it a 90. Amiga Computer gave it 93. Amiga Format gave it a 93. Amiga Mania, brother, gave it a 95. Amiga Power gave it a 92. CU Amiga. It's funny that I hate when magazines do this. In 91, they give this thing a 95. In 94, they dropped it to an 86.
They just kill it.
What the hell happened?
Yeah.
What do you want?
Right. The game can't go back and write itself to make it better.
What do you want? Amiga. Now, here's another one. Amiga, the one, gave it, in 91, gave it a 93. But in 94, those 3 years dropped it down to an 86. I don't get that.
Yeah, that's weird.
Maybe it's the value of the re-release. I don't know what the hell they're doing.
I guess if they're re-releasing it and charging you the same amount, is it worth it at full price in this day and age? Maybe that was their criteria.
You got me, man. I don't know. So I looked this up on the Eve of Bay. Now I looked up 2 different versions. I looked up the U.S. version and the I guess European version. So. In the U.S., you can get World's Circuit boxed for $15 right now. Not bad. And then I saw some goof trying to get $20 for the discs. Now in the U.K., you can buy this thing all day long.
Oh, I bet.
It was between $7 and $15. I mean, there were tons of these things, and I saw one in Australia going for $22 U.S. That's not a bad price.
No.
And the box is pretty cool looking. It's got the car on it and stuff. So if that's your bag. But for just just scratching the surface of this thing in the week we had. Man, I was really surprised. I was ready. I'm honest. I was ready to come in here and just be like, "Yeah, it's too slow. It's crap." But once I played it, it was fun. I mean, helping me not suck made all the difference. If only we had those controls, those aids in real life that I could just turn on.
Just in life, yeah.
You know, I need like
grocery store assist.
No, I mean I'm thinking like enhanced personality, enhanced looks,
right?
Enhance conversational skills,
charm assist,
enhance intelligence, and enhance dexterity. That's all I want. Turn all those on, and I'm in.
That's right.
Think of it. We'd all be like Casanova, as opposed to what we are. So, but you know, I liked it.
Aaron, before we go, you know, I give the Patreon pitch a lot, so I think it's your turn. Tell the fine folks what they can do if they would like to support the show and how it will benefit their lives.
I'll tell you, it's easy and it's helpful. If you would like to donate to the Patreon, you just roll over to Patreon. What is the exact
Patreon.com/Amigos podcast.
Right. You know, hey, I'm a po' boy. I know what it's like you can't just throw money around. But if you got a buck or whatever, you feel like throwing it our way, we'd be much obliged. We take the money and we've upgraded equipment with mics, which we've done. Seems like
every other week we upgrade our mics.
I think we've finally got the microphone issues licked over at ARG. I think this is probably the best we've sounded.
It did sound good last week,
and so we can move on from that. But we appreciate everyone that helps us out. It's I know this is cornball. That's why I never do the pitch but it's very humbling that so many people think enough of us to throw us a buck or two of their hard-earned cash. And trust me, I know what it's like to go out there and labor for a buck. You know what I'm talking about. And we appreciate it. And if you'd like to throw us a buck, you know, that's great. And if you can't, or you don't want to, or maybe you hate us so much you want to take our money, that's okay too.
What about some of the benefits of becoming a Patreon supporter?
Well, you've got there's one main benefit, and that is you get to enter the land of Discord, which is a glorious land. Every time I think about something, it just shows up. There's so many conversations on there, and gosh, how many times did I fight with people this week on Discord? If you want to hear me rant and then watch Boat counter rant, that happens occasionally. But we talk about everything, not just Amiga stuff. We talk like this week. We talk like coin ops on the Xbox, and we've been talking. We see people that go on trips, and you get to see people from all over the world. That's one thing we got, and who'd have thunk it? We got people in there that are from all over the world, man. Mm-hmm. And those people are going other places too. So you see all people post up their pictures and stuff. Who was it? Was at the pub the other night and had their
oh yeah, Ravi and Chris met up, Amigos meet up,
which is awesome. And Ravi will be coming here soon. And Ravi mentioned on the Retro Hour this week, talked about how much he was looking forward to his trip. He's going to a big retro computing show.
Vintage Computer
Philly.
Festival.
Is that where it's at?
Atlanta.
You're
almost there.
What's the one in Philly? They've got something.
That would be. I think that's Vintage Computer Festival, not Southeast.
Okay, there you go. And but Ravi's going to be coming up to join us, and so aside from the fact that we're on there, there's a lot of like luminaries and people that come by, and a lot of talented, intelligent folk way out of our league, both that stop by. So the Discord's, hey, you're going to meet a lot of cool people, and you've always got somebody to talk to because there's pretty much people in there all the time because of the time changes and stuff. So that's pretty fun. But yeah, we've also got a T-shirt shop. If that's your bag, I'm wearing one of our old school contributor shirts. There's a much cooler one that's came out with the soccer theme.
That is over at teespring.com. If you just go over there and you search for Amigos Retro Gaming, you'll see all of our shirts pop up.
I saw somebody in one of those pictures wearing a Psygnosis shirt from the shop, which is awesome. So if you want to come over there, hey, that'll do it. We also would be appreciative if you took the time to go over to leave us a review over at Apple, iTunes review, and I don't know. I guess you just do that from whatever the iTunes browser.
You can do it from you can do it from the browser. You can do it from the app, wherever you want to do it.
Yeah, that's all good. So did I leave anything out there, Bo?
You hit it all, man. You hit it all.
And we promise that only 1/3 to 1/5 of the money goes directly to the booze fund.
That's true. That's true. We've got a special partition. as you will. I've already hit the booze a little bit too hard, apparently. Aaron, you forgot about the best thing about becoming a Patreon supporter. You get featured in the song, man. It's every young person's dream.
Now, you know, last week a dude chastised you for singing that song. You remember that?
You know, I didn't publish the thousands of responses I got that countered him. Yeah, the pro singing. And, you know, my humility prevented me from doing so.
You've got humility? You must have turned the aid on since last week. The humility aid.
Boy, I could use that like nobody's business. Last week's winners. Do you remember the song last week? I need to stop asking you that because you never do. It was "I Want to Hold Your Hand" by the Beatles.
I remember how it was a cringeworthy moment.
Remember how the band director couldn't keep time with his own clapping? It was glorious.
I thought it was like a trained seal. was belting something out.
Could have had the things they hit with their noses, those bicycle horns.
That was an abomination that the Beatles felt, and the dead ones rolled over.
I want to congratulate Darren Coles, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles, Pixels at Dawn, Paul Kitching, Edvin Helland, Colin 419, Jonas Rulo, and Dell is Dreamy for correctly guessing the.
I think you should. Instead of congratulating, they all recognize something. You should apologize to them. I'm sorry for what I did to that song, fellas.
So if you know this week's Patreon song, you can send us a message at john@amigospodcast.com, and I will read your name among the winners next week.
Is there an Aaron at amigospodcast.com?
There is.
Is there anything in there? Who sends me email?
It's your email address.
I get nothing? I don't know how to get to it.
You got to check it. Check yourself before you wreck yourself.
It's too late.
Respect yourself.
I'm wrecked and no respect.
So here we go. Daniel Williams, Robert Edgerton, the third Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Letter, Rob O'Hara, Howard Nims, Matthew Moore, Eric Craig, Seanzo, Darren Lomax, Colin 419, Barkbit, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, the John Cook, Dan Rossleaf, Killan, Alan Kebab, Checote, Level Lord, John Marshall, Matthew Perrin, Ricky DeRussell, Creepy Dead Boy, Figgy CTC, The Slow, Norris, Stefan, Surgon, Mortensen, Evan, Helan, Blindo 75, Christopher Hassel, Ravi, Abbott, Chris Bolts, Dreamcatcher, Lauren Giroux, Graham Vepke, Brent Dowdy, Langdonson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro and Vintage, Gary Huckasey, Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Duncan Stiles, Alan Kebab, Anthony Jarvis, Taste from the Crypt, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rulo, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy Humbertstad, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Aaron Coles, Jason Warrens, Pixels of Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
You know, it took the entire song before I had an idea of what you were attempting to groan out there.
Again, you're too kind.
I know. Hey, kind. I just thought I wanted to mention before the show's over. I mentioned all these before, but I wanted to mention especially this week. There are 3 podcasts I've been listening to that I really enjoy, and this week there was some really good ones. I got around to one that I hadn't gotten to for a while. If you don't listen to the Retro Hour, they did a really interesting show. It was from their last Play Expo, I believe, where they had a roundtable discussion with a bunch of the big YouTubers, Kim Justice, Retro Man Cade, Adam Korlick, a couple others. That was really interesting that I think you should check out. And of course, Retro Hour is always great. We love that. One of our buddies, Eric, has a show called it's called Pixel Gaiden, I believe is the name of it. And where him and his buddy out in California sit around drinking beer and they just basically talk about old games. And
Man,
some of it I get,
great.
Some of it I don't get. Yeah, I don't get any of the beer. They go off on the beer, but I enjoy that show quite a bit. And our buddy Lefarius did his first Amigarama stream the other day, which I happened to catch some of, and it was fun. And I enjoy his podcast as well, Amigarama. So those are 3 podcasts, all of our buddies, and they're all very good. And so if you are looking for some more Amiga action, man, get on those. They're all great. You can't go wrong. Can't go wrong, Bode.
Awesome. Next week, Aaron, it's a theme week. It's the November theme week.
We have Okay.
Okay.
The theme week.
Yeah,
This is from the Amigos.
This is from the Amigos Game Selection Committee.
That's something we didn't mention else about Patreon.
Yeah, so if you are a Patreon supporter at the level of Game Selection Committee member, you actually have a hand in selecting the games that we play each and every week. So this week, the Game Selection Committee has been hard at work, nose to the grindstone, trying to find out what game we should play next. And to be honest with you, they're still at it. They haven't figured it out, but they do know the theme. And the theme of next week's show is going to be Amiga games that had ports to consoles.
Oh, hey, how as timely as today's headline.
That's right.
I don't go into that part of Discord because I don't want to get spoiled.
Right, right, me neither.
But occasionally I'll go in there, and I've noticed this week it's been crazy time in there. They've been really batting a lot of stuff around, so I'm guessing there's been a lot of action. I'm anxious to see, so we're going to find out along with everybody else, I guess.
Absolutely.
Cool. Hey, that'll be fun. We just found out the Amiga can hang with the Super Nintendo, so what the hell?
You never know what's going to happen. Guys, keep on playing Amiga. We'll see you next week. Until then, adios. All right.
Did we go long?
No, we were right at an hour.
Really?
Yeah. I'm gonna go.
I felt long-winded tonight.
Use the facilities.
Was I too long-winded
and then we'll do
tonight?
the call-in show.
Oh, we're doing it.
Yeah.
What about all that? What about that pitch? You're like, come on, get angry, get your blood pressure up, have a heart attack. They'll get the views.
If you died on air, can you imagine the numbers?
Then what would happen next week? You just go with Brent in here to sit in here.
That would be kind of.
You put a goatee on Brent, and he could be like, "I'm Amigo Aaron." He'd never do it.
Somehow I doubt he would.
I'm going to switch over to the chat, people, so I can at least do something while I'm gone. I'm going to screw this whole computer up big time. I'm coming, chat. I'm going to find you. Boat's got 400 windows out. Here we go. Okay, there we go. Hi, guys. Let's see who I'm talking to here. Yeah, I noticed that he sang Kilborn Barman's name too. Thank you. You know, I told Boat before the show. I said I know this game is like one of the top titles, and I honestly I don't feel worthy almost to look because I mean it seems like this is a game. It'd be like someone that didn't know anything about American football try to play Madden. You know, it's like, well, I'm going to go in there and try. Good night, Darren. Take it easy, man. But honestly, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun playing a racing game and feeling like a real stud. I mean, that first go-around, I felt unbelievably positive, and it never left me. And even once I found out about the player aids, no more for me because I got to drive. That's the last thing I need. That stuff's hardcore in it, Boat.
Yeah, it is, man. McClellan's Speyside single malt Scotch whiskey.
Well, that's Graham. Honestly, I mean, obviously, Stud Car Racer's a quick, fun, like thrill, and I love it. And I would probably play it before F1. But if you would have told me last week that F1 would have been in the running of something I'd want to play alongside with Stunt Car, I'd have called you a liar, Boat. I would have bought it. And they are different, but I mean, it just shows that the guy's a genius. Crammond really is the man.
So when you're doing stuff, when you're adding stuff, does your timeline look like this?
I don't use this program.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like, this is probably why the rendering time is longer. Like, does your timeline? Do you have like multiple audio sources and overlays and stuff like that?
Hold on a second. Now, this is not the kind of video you do.
Well,
I knew that's why I was complimenting you. These are outstanding.
But like if I just take the show and I put the intro on the show and then I have to remaster it, yeah, I would say it takes it 20 minutes to spit out an H.264 file that I upload to YouTube.
And again, we may do things. I'm sure we do things entirely differently.
Are you using Movie Maker?
No, when I do, like, for example, when I do ARG,
yeah,
I do it just like I always have.
Oh, you still do it live.
I produce it in real time.
Okay.
And then I take the FLV file and it pushes
so
you're not
you're not rendering anything. You're doing everything on the fly.
That's right. Okay. When you say render,
like rendering means this: when I go File, Export, Media, then I choose all my options, and then I hit export, and then it's got to churn through everything.
No,
and it spits out a
I do
file.
everything in
Okay.
real time.
Okay.
I mean, I think I could do what you're doing.
Oh, I know you could.
No,
but
I mean,
it's just a question of.
It would be. I would have to do it in a different. It would be complicated. I mean,
Yeah.
it's quite a. You've done quite a good job. I mean, I see other YouTubers doing those kind of videos, and I'm always very impressed. Even when was it Brutal that was doing those Amigo challenge videos? I thought, holy smokes, these are some difficult things. I mean, he's really going to work. It's very impressive.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to. Okay, that makes sense to what you're saying. But really, because you're doing everything in real time, you're watching ARG again after you
many
do
times.
it. Yeah.
Like last week, I got halfway through the show and realized I'd forgot to turn the audio off on one of my clips. Start over.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
I did notice that on. I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago. There was an audio clip in there, but
It was
wasn't
so
bad,
short
though.
that I
it was
left.
fine.
I mean, normally I'll start over. Sometimes, and I mean, I never miss them, but I do. Sometimes I'm like, what? Look at the cost versus the amount of time I've got to work.
Right,
I'm like,
absolutely. So I need to add a audio output source, and we want to make that these guys. Okay, so if you want to call in to the show, then send me a message on Discord. You have a question.
We've got some. I've got a few topics we could talk about on the fly, if we need something.
All right, don't worry, man. We got people queued up already.
Oh, good.
There's a line
You've got to be
60.
kidding me.
No.
These are messages, right? All right.
Okay, so let me go ahead and start. Welcome, Aaron, to our third call-in show.
Yeah.
For Insert Disc 2. The first one was wildly successful. The second one was halfway unusable because I tried to monkey around with the audio settings to make things sound better.
You had 74 windows open.
Yeah, it was
amazing.
insane. So
let me ask you, when you're rendering all this stuff, how many windows are open?
Oh,
I think that could be part of the problem.
I've got Windows upon Windows. I've got Photoshop, Premiere, everything's going at once.
It's all going at once. That would explain it.
Yeah, that's probably why. Yeah. Okay, so we've got a caller coming in here. So let's see. Let me give you a call. Hello, caller.
Hello.
What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Pixels at Dawn here again.
Hi,
Hey,
you guys.
Pixels. What's on your mind, Pixels?
So, we look at games all the time, and we look at the hardware, and we've even looked at the sort of box art in the past. But one of the other great things about games is in those big old boxes, you used to get some really cool sort of extra collectibles you get. So, what's your favourite sort of extra bit of stuff you've got with a game in the past?
Great question. Aaron, you want to take this one first?
I was a dirty, rotten, stinking, filthy pirate for the majority of my career. And so one of the disadvantages of being a dirty, rotten, filthy, stinking pirate is you get no box and you get no goodies in the box. So I'm going to go back to, I can think of two things. And of course, these were things you could not pirate, ironically, now I think about it. But when I got the original EverQuest, it had a real nice cloth map. And the map was, and this was a tradition in these games. I mean, I believe Ultima would come with a map such as that back in the day. And the map was functional to help me know where I was at, because it was a map of the world that I could never find my way around. I mean, it seems stupid, but it did help at least know where I was at in the world of EverQuest. So I thought that was cool. In fact, it's hanging in the arcade. And then and the expansion came with its own map. So the cloth map gimmick for those type of games was sort of expected, almost, in a way. Another thing I really liked was when I bought City of Villains, which is the sort of sequel / expansion for City of Heroes. It came with its own little action figure for one of the guys in the game, and in each box had a different one. And the funny thing is, when you at this point, the game was, they were practically giving the game away, so you could go out and buy like 10 of these things, and you get all the figures. So I had a bunch of figures from that.
Or are these what are the Nintendo things? Memoji?
Well, these were just little
Amiibo.
They didn't have a guy. No, these were just non-functional little.
But I mean,
figures.
were they about the same size?
They were, yay big, a couple inches. And then also City of Heroes would come with like a comic book, and they actually had a comic series based on it, which was cool. But it would came with a book. So I'd say those are the two that came right off the top of my head. What about you?
Code Wheels.
Code Wheels, you like those?
Just papered my wall with
Oh
them.
my god!
No, I really liked instruction manuals that really took the theme of the game to heart. I remember when I bought Leisure Suit Larry, which I think was Larry 4. There was one with Passionate Patty.
I can't imagine you playing Leisure Suit Larry games.
Well, I can tell
you're such
you,
a straight shooting nice boy.
I can tell you
Boy
that
Scout.
in my younger years, I wanted to be a little bit edgy. And
I'm not buying it.
But the manual was cool because it was set up like a travel brochure. It looked like a brochure. It folded out and stuff.
Cute.
And it was cool. You know, there's been other games like that. I had a game called The Scoop for MS-DOS. It was a graphic adventure game where you played an intrepid reporter.
So you don't clean a cat box.
No.
Okay.
No. But anyway, the instruction manual looked like a newspaper. You know, everything was set out. You don't get that anymore, mostly because you don't get manuals anymore.
Yeah. Now all the time I see stuff that were cool stuff that were in boxes is like from watching videos of people like LGR or something where they'll open them up and they'll have.
Well,
I know that for Psygnosis games like Shadow of the Beach had a T-shirt in it, for example. That'd be cool to have. You know.
I think that these days games still that trade is still being applied, as it were, in the form of legendary editions and things like that. Who could forget the cat box or the cat helmet with Halo 2 or whatever?
It's a scam.
Yeah.
So now you pay $100 and they give you $10 with a little crud that they have mass printed.
Exactly.
Not the same.
How about you, Pixels? Do you have any special memories of any in-game items?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people in the chat talking about T-shirts, but I don't remember I ever got a T-shirt with a game, unfortunately. But a lot of Amiga games came with like paper maps, and I remember most of the Dizzy games on the Amiga would come with a nice big poster of the box art, which
that's a nice touch.
Pin up on the wall. So there were lots of that sort of thing. But yeah, it was always someone else got the cool extra stuff and it's like, I wish I'd bought that one sort of thing. But that's the way it goes.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I think that how much do you think all that's, have you ever bought a legendary edition of anything?
Oh, please. No. I will say another company that was the masters of this, and it was Infocom. All the old text games came with a whole bunch of stuff. And I did see, my buddy had a couple of these. They would have clippings and letters and tangible items in it that were part of the game that you would read them over and little booklets. I always thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I remember like Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I think, came with like scratch and sniff stickers and stuff like that. It kind of reminds me of the Watchmen graphic novel. How, in between the comics there were like newspaper clippings and stuff like that.
What was that game we played a while back? I don't think it was Darkseid. The one where it included the guy's diary of a madman.
That was
that's something you had to have pretty much to know what was going on. So that I thought that was kind of I like games that include a something like a comic, like Yar's Revenge did that. That had a backstory and stuff. I think it's always neat that they include that stuff.
The thing that always gets me about the T-shirt is like, how do you know that the T-shirt that you're getting is going to fit you?
I know it's never going to fit me.
Right. I mean, I wonder, when they were making these games, I guess they just figured, this is a medium, and they just threw it in there.
Yeah.
So to me, that would probably be on the lower end of things I would like to receive in a game as a T-shirt.
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah. I agree.
Well, Pixels, thanks very much for your call.
Thanks, man.
Good to talk. See you guys.
Bye-bye.
All right. Our next question comes in. This is a submitted question on the Discord in Word form.
Ooh. From
none other than Jack Flack himself.
Holy smokes, the big man.
Yeah. So he asks, as I scroll down, I guess he didn't post it there. I don't know where he posted it. But at some point in the past, Flack asked our opinion on what we think of the new mini PC that is rumored to be in production.
Well, it's crowdsourced. It's funny.
It's never failed before. Crowdsourcing is a funny model.
The difference in this, as opposed to other things, is they have allegedly have a working finished model. and you see the guy. I don't know if you did you watch the video with that featured in it?
No, I did not watch the video.
He sits down and plays Doom on it, and he plays. I think he plays Quake. He plays a couple other I think he maybe plays like a couple other games. Like the original Duke Nukem, the old ones. A couple. I mean, he plays, but. So what's my opinion?
So this is a $99 device. It's got HDMI and 3 USB ports.
Yeah, it's. I think it's interesting looking. I know a lot of people ragged on the look, but it does look like something that might come along with an old PC. It's a kind of a. It looks like that deep smoker yellow that you would get from this old beige, and it's got it's wacky. But my question is why? And my question, it's the same question I ask on all these minis. If you're someone, again, with the Super Nintendo ones, at least I can understand the appeal. Because that's your passion. You want to, and despite the fact you can play these games in a million different ways. Okay, with this thing, it's even to me it'd be even weirder because anyone that would buy this is probably really hardcore PC guy. Now that much said, if I could sit down with this device and play 32 original DOS games from across the spectrum of time, from say like 85 to 93, okay, 94, you got something. And I think that what the guy says is they're going to do a bit where you get SD cards to add content to it. So I don't know how that's going to work.
I don't know.
But the word on the street, it comes with like 30 games, okay? Now, and I've talked about this in the past, but DOS games before 1990 or so, I'd rather play them on the Amiga. If you want the truth, they're better most of the time. And you're talking in the early 80s, the sound, there was no sound. It was anything with CGA. I mean, I know people are passionate about DOS gaming, which is, to me, I've always found a little odd. Because I think it's one of those things that seems like a great idea until you sit down and play. Because I grew up playing these games, and they sucked. The action games were no good on the old PC games. Now they got there eventually. Eventually they passed the Amiga, but the old ones, like people are talking about Jill of the Jungle or Commander Keen. Everybody loves Commander Keen. They're well done games, but they're not that good because they're ugly and they don't play that well. Yeah. You know,
the resolution of the PC was just so low at that time.
It's mostly it wasn't made to. It's just not good. I mean, you could play. It's not smooth. It's just an ugly affair.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you're right because it's not just about resolution. Because I mean, the 2600 had terrible resolution.
Right.
But it's a combination of the game not looking good and not playing well and having no sound capabilities.
Right.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, again, if you're going to release a mini PC, and you go out and you license Doom and Quake, and I'm trying to think of what would have been like One Must Fall, which we just covered. Or Star Control 2, or some of the old Blizzard stuff. And I'm guessing this stuff would not be cheap. All right, so I'd say it's unlikely, but you never know because what are they doing with their old DOS properties? Probably not that much. So maybe you get lucky and you get 30 quality titles. But if you're going to get a bunch of old Apogee games like Jill of the Jungle or Jazz Jackrabbit, as much fun as those games were at the time, I mean, they're okay. They're okay at best. And so, to me, I know somebody somewhere is going bananas. They're going to, give me the big thumbs down. But I'm just saying, when I grew up playing them, it didn't do it for me, And so a lot of it depends on the titles they pick. Could they get 30 titles between 85 and 94 that are quality titles? Absolutely. There's no doubt. If they get them, and if they're smart about what they get. My biggest wonder is. How is this? If I'm assuming this is some kind of like ARM-based gimmick, like a RetroPie or Android or something. My same question as with the other stuff. I mean, it's an emulator. The new PlayStation thing that came out this week, there's a big ruffle over it because it uses an open source emulator. Why are people mad? Who cares? You knew it was going to emulate the PlayStation. The newsflash: the Super Nintendo Mini emulates the Super Nintendo. You're not playing a real one. All these are emulation, and they're mad. The emulation's good. They don't have the options in there that the Mini does. That's Sony's fault for being lazy. But I mean, it's emulation. So if you want to emulate old DOS games easily, this is the thing for you.
Yeah, and here's my deal with this. A big reason why I like playing my Super Nintendo Mini, thanks again Hasifa for sending that over, is because the controller feels like an old school Super Nintendo controller. You know, holding the controller in my hands while I'm playing the thing, while I'm looking at the thing, it kind of brings me back.
Right.
Okay? With the Mini PC, you know, you're sold this box that's got USB ports, okay? Yep. So in order for you to fully recreate that experience, you're not going to be able to do it right out of the box. You're going to need to get one of those old IBM M model, you know, keyboards with the clicky-clack keys.
They're
an
awesome.
Old craft joystick where the centering mechanism is halfway busted.
Which doesn't work on, it won't work on USB.
Right.
They're game ports.
So, like, it's an incomplete solution if you're going for the nostalgia play.
Here's how I would have done it. Okay, while we're talking about it, because I thought about this. If you're going to put out a classic PC Mini, all right, and you're going to, I know this is unrealistic, okay, because this, I'll give them credit. What they did for $99, I think that's the asking price. They may appeal to some people. I mean, it's not going to have the appeal of the Nintendo products, obviously, but there are some people, including, I mean, having 30 DOS games handily available, you can't, unless you have a setup like a Pi or something, it's not something normally people would have. But what would have been more fun for me is if it had a game port. Because one thing you said is true. Unlike the Super Nintendo, the PlayStation, the N64, everyone had a different PC. Mm-hmm. Everyone had different controllers. What I would have done, if it was me, I would have either put a game port on it somehow so you could actually let people use the controller they want, or go with what was the most popular controller of the day, which is like a Gravis or something, and make a USB version. Then you might have, at least you've got that. But it's hard to get nostalgic about this stuff when it's not, like, when I look at a Nintendo Mini, it's a Nintendo, it looks like my old Nintendo, but it's a small version. Mm-hmm. When I look at this, do I see a small PC or a small version of what I used to have? No, I don't. Mm-hmm. I see something similarly colored with a different controller, and, you know, so it's going to be different. It's a tough sell. All that aside, I'm interested to see where it goes, and I'm not poo-pooing it. A lot of it comes down to the games they pick and the way they're presented.
Right.
You know, and if they do a good job, that's one of all the minis that I'm not giving a crap about any of them. That's the only one that if they did 30 good games and they put good quality controllers in the thing, I would be interested in. That's the only one.
All right, we've got another question. We've got several questions actually from the chat. We got a question from Jason. Jason says, what's your opinion on game series, i.e. King's Quest, Police Quest? Are they like a movie series where some releases are great and others are stinkers? What do you think, Aaron?
Why don't you take this one, Bo, just because this is more your bag.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm trying to think about, you know, games that are in a... Okay.
You loved King's Quest, didn't you play those?
So I've played King's Quest 1 to completion and a smattering of other King's Quest games. I don't know enough about the adventure series that he's, you know, that he mentioned specifically, but I can tell you about games that I've played in a series like, say for example, the Final Fantasy series. Okay, so I don't see these games as being sort of hit or miss as much as I see sort of climbing to an apex and then the falling away. So to me, and I think that this may be similar to your viewpoint on some of these things, where you have the early games in a series, they're trying to figure out what it's all about, trying to perfect the mechanics. At some point, everything is awesome, everything clicks, and then the next game, this starts the descent, and it just keeps on sliding. Do you find that to be true too?
No, not necessarily. I'll give you an example, and again, this is something that's not. I don't play a ton of that sort of game, but I did play a series called it was Gabriel Knight. If you remember, did you ever play the Gabriel Knight games?
Never. This is a computer game, right?
Yeah, it's a PC game.
PC game.
The first game was voiced, I believe it was voiced by like Tim Curry, as I recall.
Really?
I believe it was. Anyway, and it's an adventure game where you're sort of less detective and some paranormal stuff goes on. It's been a while since I played it, but the second game in the series was a whole different kettle of fish. It was all. This is when CDs had just came out, so the video was a big deal, and so it's all the cutscenes and stuff in it are cinema type stuff, and then you play like a rendered version of real life, sort of like I'm trying to think of a game that does this, where you play like yourself, like a Mortal Kombat version,
Okay.
and you walk around and you talk to people. And it's a point and click type game. It was fun. It was awesome. And the soundtrack was better. It was just all around better. The atmosphere. This is of all. It's funny. I didn't think about this game. I haven't thought about it for a while. I still have it. And it was a really interesting game. And you got to go over Europe, and it had real life places, and I think it was like Budapest. I mean, you get to see actual real life buildings. You get to go in them. It was kind of cool, And the music was great. They had a soundtrack produced with an orchestra, and it was really good. And then the third one, which I believe I think the second one was around wolves, and the third one was around. I think the first one was voodoo, and the third one was vampires. Third one I didn't like as much.
K-Bar.
Right, but this was a series that peaked in the second one, sort of like Star Wars, right? So I mean, you're not always screwed. Sometimes they get it right. Like, have you ever played Bard's Tale? The sequels to Bard's Tale were pretty good, as I recall. But I mean, that's been forever since I played them. So I don't think it's always a dud. It's another series where the game peaked later would have been your you had WWF Superstars, then you had WrestleFest. Right,
that's the top of the mountain, right?
Way better. Then they came out with WrestleMania, right? It's okay, but it's not as good as WrestleFest, right? So there you go. So I don't think you have to. I don't think it's necessarily degenerates as it goes. Sometimes it does, though. I mean, I played Doom 2, Quake, all those games, but really, they were all reminding me a lot of Doom, and I liked Doom, so I would just play Doom. I didn't really care much about the enhancements to it. And that's sort of where I left that whole genre. I was like, I mean, it got better, clearly, but,
Let's see. Next question comes in from Necronom. He says, did you ever make your own levels on games? He says he used to make them for Emerald Mine, Rally Speedway, Breach 2, etc.
What do you think on that?
Let me think before I answer this. I don't think I've ever created a level for a game before. Whenever people go over the moon, they're like, and there's course creation utilities. I'm like, yeah, I'm playing the game because I like the levels that this guy created. I don't think that I can top that.
Well, I mean, I can think of a bunch off the top of my head.
Okay.
But and sometimes they're this sort of cheating. Lotus 3, you can sort of generate your own course in a loose way. Load Runner, I remember doing stuff with that. I think I know there's a part of Casey Munchkin where you can make your own mazes. I think me and Brent tooled around with that. So that I remember doing that.
Must have not made it over to the Amiga port.
I don't remember. We didn't. That's one thing I didn't. I'm pretty sure that you can make your own maze. I'm fairly certain you can, but don't hold me to that. Because I remember making mazes on the Odyssey 2. But I'm kind of like you. I mean, it requires a certain amount of patience. And I don't necessarily, it's the same reason I don't program. I just can't sit still that long and do it.
To me, it becomes more like work.
I know, but the thing is, when you've got my brother, for example, now I will say Brent is a published level designer.
He's great.
He did levels for the remake of Battlezone, him and Mike Lilly, and they got picked up. I mean, they actually got paid, I think, and they're in the box, credited. So I guess he's a sort of a professional designer in a way.
He's got a real mind for that sort of thing.
Yeah, and plus he's tenacious when it comes to sitting around and doing, just like those little models he makes. Like, I could never do that. I would just smash them and it'd be over. So I wasn't a big level design guy, but I've done it on occasion. I know I have a couple times.
Let's see. Duncan Stiles says, if a new computing platform were to start up today, would you buy into it or would you stick with PC or Mac? Basically, could you give a new platform a chance?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I demand a new platform. I can't wait. I can't wait to get away from the teat, the Microsoft teat.
That's the title of this show, by the way, the Microsoft teat.
I know you always act like I'm some sort of militant. I just read something today right before I came to the show. It said Microsoft has decided they're thinking about adding ads to your mail, your app, your mail app, right? Well, I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of these guys just having full reign on my stuff because this is what happens when you've got a dynamic OS. They can just monkey around. All of a sudden, one day your paint program's gone. Everybody complained, "Oh, well, you can have it back." What are you doing? Why would you take it away, you idiots? What the heck is that? I'm begging for a new computer. Put it down. I'm begging. What about you?
Absolutely.
See, finally. See, now we finally found common ground on these computer issues we have.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we have more common ground than you realize. If there was a new platform that would come out and say, hey, we've got your browser and we've got Adobe on board, then I'd be all in. I'd be all in because that's all I need.
Then you should go get a Chromebook.
No, because you can't do the kind of stuff that I do with Adobe, like with Premiere on a Chromebook.
I want a new platform, like the guy said.
Yeah, I want it. Yeah,
is that Duncan? I want a platform that people say, hey, we're going to design stuff for this.
Yeah,
you know, and I would love it, but I don't think it can happen. You know, I mean, Linux is sort of that, but even Linux has its, you know, its problems,
well,
its infighting.
It's very fragmented, and yeah.
Right, and so what you need is a big dog. And the thing is, of course, eventually what would happen? It would probably be as bad as the other
Exactly,
two.
because in order to become a big dog, you have to be of the mindset to screw people.
Yeah, but I'm down with the clown on that. Yes, absolutely.
All right, coming up next. Let's see, I'm looking for Graham.
The web key.
Graham, I thought you posted a question, but I can't see it. It says, love to hear the Amigos answer and others, but I can't find your original question. Scrolling up again.
You know, I was going to bring up that little PC. I'm glad that came up. While you're nosing around here, just to touch back on that for a second. Assuming this is an ARM little tiny board in there. I mean, you're really going down the same road as a Raspberry Pi, except it's more money, right? I mean, because the Pi plays a lot of DOS stuff, you know, so it's even more ridiculous, I think, in a lot of ways than the Nintendo ones. I mean,
I wish if this thing would have come. Okay, let's just say if this thing would have come with a mini, like this big, clicky keyboard that was branded with the IBM thing in the corner.
Well, now you're nuts.
I know, but I'm just saying.
What I would like to see is a miniaturized 486. I don't know how small they can make a. I don't mean a. I don't want an emulated. I don't want an emulated 46. Mm-hmm. I don't want it some kind of. I want a proper, like a 40. You know, they've got the Amiga on a chip. You've heard that about this thing, and they've got the C64 on a chip or Atari on a chip, whatever. Mm-hmm. I want a 486 on a chip, or if you get cute, a P1. I'll settle for a P1 if you got to do it. I want a board about yay big. All right. I can get past the USBs. I can get past that. But if you do a proper 46 and then you have DOS, and I don't know what it would cost to license a DOS 311 or 5 or whatever you want to use, but they're all licensed with a little DOS image, and all the games run like exactly like they're supposed to. I mean, the thing boots up to them. What you'd have to do is build a front end. You select your games, and the front end would not be DOS; it'd be whatever. And then once you pick your game, the thing reboots. It boots up with the auto exec stuff already ready to go, and then it boots the game proper. I think
that could be really cool, especially if when it reboots, you see the BIOS screen pop up. You know, the American Megatrends or whatever,
right?
And you watch the RAM count up or whatever, and I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
All right, man.
I think we hit the wall, bro.
Yep.
Good questions, y'all.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out with us. Retrobox, Pixels at Dawn.
If we missed any questions, we'll come back to you on the next run.
Henrik, Necronom, Graham Vebke, thank you. Duncan, Jason, Paul, anybody else that has not made an appearance in the chat, but you're listening along, thank you for joining us. We will see you next week. Adios. All right.